Hello, welcome to Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting. Before I get started today with a nice little truck painting, I would like to show you the canvas I'm using. This is an Artist Series acrylic prime cotton canvas from Fredericks. This is a red label canvas and it has a beautiful medium texture to it. So I want to thank Fredericks for sending me some canvases to try. All right, so now before I get started, I wanted to show you what I did, and if you are a follower of my shows, you know that sometimes I print out coloring book pages to trace, okay? So what I did today was I printed out this nice old pickup truck, and I transferred it on with transfer paper from DecoArt, and it comes out nice and dark, okay? And since I'm using acrylic, I'm not worried that's nice and dark because we can cover that very easily. If one coat doesn't cover it, then it's fine. We can go back and put on another coat. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. And you can see that I left the wheels off and some of the details of it, okay? Because one thing I did want to talk to my audience today about was not worrying about let's say coloring in the lines like we used to when we were kids. I want to do a nice impressionistic painting, and I'm not worried about getting in those lines that much like I would, and it looks very artsy when you do that, okay? So as a beginner, don't worry about it. As you get more advanced, you feel like painting exact details, that's fine, but for now, let me teach you how to do something like this, okay? So I have my DecoArt Premium Acrylic paints all on my canvas here, on my palette, sorry, and I'm just going to jump right in and get started. I do have some extender. I'll just put a little bit of extender on the brush, and this extender will help the paint flow better, and it'll just help with the drying time, all right? So what I want to do is I have this mixing area in the middle, all right? And I'm going to put my palette down from time to time, all right? So when you see me going back into the paint, I'll tell you what paint I'm using, but I'm going to lift it back up and down depending on which portion I'm painting. So I tipped my, my brush, my number 1 flat brush, in some titanium white, and I'm going to take just the corner, just that little bit of that corner of blue, and I'm going to make a real pale blue. Now you can see the pigment in this paint is so wonderful. That little tiny bit just made that whole pile there that I had blue. All right, I'm going to come across here and say, I don't know, I think I'm going to have my sky be about here. So up above this portion will be my sky. Here will be some land, some grasses. We'll see what I have time to put in there, okay? So to paint my sky, I'm very simply going to just do some X strokes, okay? And just get a little bit around the car. Like I said, if I go in that car a little bit, that's okay. I'll see those lines a little. All right, I'm doing X strokes, and the canvas is beautiful. It is a medium tooth canvas, so I don't have to worry about going back and forth to fill the little tooth of the canvas, because the tooth is finer than the wide tooth canvas on this one, so it's wonderful to use. All right, I just dipped in a little bit more of the medium, a little more white, a little more blue, getting about the same value. What I mean by value is just the lightness or darkness of that color, okay? So I'm going to come back over, and you can see I matched that color. That was pretty easy to do, all right? And I'm just going around my car. See, you got a little bit of dark blue in there. That's okay. Just going to smooth it out. So I want to put a little bit of this light color down towards the horizon, and for gradation, I'd like to make it a little darker as we go higher to the top of the canvas, which I've also done on other shows before, which is good to do in your painting. So I put more white in the middle, a little bit more medium. Now with this medium, you could mix it in ahead of time, or you could mix it in as you go. It depends. If you are going to mix your puddle of paint with the medium, you'll use 1 part medium to 4 parts paint. Okay, I'm pretty used to it, so I'm just kind of mixing as I'm going. I'm going to dip now in even more blue than I did before, because I want to make this value darker. So you can see now it moved up a couple shades there, and it is a little darker, and we'll try it out. And you can see it is darker. So I'll put that back down, and X strokes again. Here is the X strokes. And as I'm doing it, I'm lightly going between the blue to blend them together lightly. When I'm up here, I'm pushing a little harder because I want to apply the paint to the canvas. So I'm pushing a little bit harder, all right? Between the colors, I'm doing it very gentle. And there we have a little bit of a gradation between them. So you can see just a little of the light, little of the dark. In here I see a little bit of white of the canvas. I might have put a touch bit too much of the medium, but that's okay, because it'll just look like a little bit of white in the background. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going back to my same paint pile here. I'm going to add a little bit more blue, even more blue. And I'm going to make that a shade darker. That might even be a couple shades darker. All right, here we go. We got some nice dark blue. So now, coming up in the corner, all right, and you can see the difference between them now. So what I've done is the light, mid, and I'm getting a little bit darker. I wouldn't call it a dark shade, just a couple shades darker. And I'm going across the top here. All right, I'm going across the top. Then I'm going to bring those two colors, those two values together. Okay, it's the same color, different value. And you can see I'm just moving quickly, and you can see that it's shiny, so that extender is helping this acrylic paint not dry. All right, and that's helping. So here, I'm a little dry because I need a little more paint. And I can see that I need a little bit more paint. And when I go down between the colors, you can see I'm more gentle. All right, back into my darker blue, and I'm going to fill in the sky. All right, and see, I'm just filling in that medium tooth of the canvas. There we go. Okay, now that the sky is done, I'm going to go on and I'm going to start making the ground area. So I'm taking a little bit of white again, coming over into my middle section, taking some sap green, and I'm going to make a pale green. Now that to me looks a little too white. I'm going to go in the end of the puddle there and make it even darker, darker, darker till I'm happy with the color. All right, there we go. So I'm trying to get like a middle value here. There we go. And I think that's about good. So I'm going to put my palette down, and I'm just going to come in here, and I noticed my horizon was a little bit crooked, so I'll just come in and straighten that. Now I'm going to be putting some grasses and all in here, so I'm not too worried about it. That will straighten that all out. So I'm just going to get some of this nice green on, and this is the sap green mixed with some white, and I could have used yellow also. I just saw that white, and I said, I'm just going to try the white because I want to add a little yellow later. So now we have that nice mid-tone in there. I'm going to take some green. I'm going to go to the end of the puddle here. So this way I don't have to add as much in there and make as much paint. And there we go. Okay, you can see the value change there. And I'm going to come in here, make it a little darker. I'm making it darker towards the bottom. This way we give a little bit of depth to this painting, okay? And again, just going to blend in between. Same thing, kind of like I did in the sky there. So it's a little darker down at the bottom. And I think I might like it even a little darker. So I think I'm going to go straight into that sap and just come over here and just mix what I had in the brush in with that. And come in these corners here and get a little bit of dark. All right, so that made it just a little bit of dark right down there. There we go. So now I'm going to go right on to the brush, to the truck. I'm going to put my brush in the water. Again, we don't want to leave these brushes to dry with any paint in them. It'll go in this ferrule and it'll ruin the brush, okay? So I'm just going to put it in the water behind me here and swish it around. I'm just going to leave it in there for a few minutes. You don't want to leave them soaking in there for long, but a few minutes it's okay. So what I would like to do is I want to go on to this truck. And what I'd like to talk about again is not staying in the lines. I don't have to stay in these lines, okay? We just want it to look like a truck sitting in a field. It's an old truck from the 1930s, so it's dilapidated, rusted, and that's the kind of look that we want with it, all right? So I'm going to pick up my palette now, and just going to lean it over here since I have a nice big palette. And what I'd like to do is start with some of the dark colors, all right? So for the darkest darks, I'm going to use some black, all right? I'm not going to use any medium here. I'm just moving it over a little bit in case I want to mix it with another color. So what I want to do is I'll just outline this top a little with some black. All right, and you can see I'm just spreading it. Now that's pretty neat. It doesn't even have to be that neat, all right? I want to get a little black in this corner here to show maybe that there's a shadow in that corner. Now, I'm not putting a light source in this. It's a beginner's painting. I could, put a light source so you have the light shining in certain areas. For now, I just want to show you how you can do this with value changes, okay? Eventually, as you get more experience, then you can start to put light sources in and, follow which way the shadow is actually falling. For now, I'm just going to put some lights and darks next to each other, just so we have a little bit of that, the value changes and a little bit of color changes, okay? So here we go. I'm putting in some black over here. Okay, so I'm just finding some spots, and I have a little picture I'm kind of looking at just to give me a little reminder of where I put some of those blacks, markings in. And we can always go over those again too if we want to change it to a little bit of gray. We are going to be putting some gray. All right, so again, back into my black. Under these wheels, I want to get some black in there, okay? Because we want that to really look like a shadow in here, all right? So, and I can go back in and I'm going to put grasses, so that white under here will probably be covered. Back in some more black, and let's see, maybe we'll put a little bit around this bottom step where you step up on the truck. All right, and get a little in there, and maybe around this light. And you can see, it's a little bit neat, but let's face it, it's not that neat, but we want this to look a little bit rustic. Nice impressionistic painting, okay? Getting some black hinges, following a little bit of my lining. All right, this way the lining is just followed a little bit, and maybe a little bit going across here. All right, let's see if I have any other little areas. So here and there I have some black, and I failed to mention I'm using a little filbert, okay? This is, let me check the number 8. Sometimes I can't tell the difference between the 8s and the 10s. They're pretty close. So this is a little filbert brush, all right? A very nice brush. You can do a lot of different applications with this brush. And you can see I'm holding it on the chisel edge and going across, but basically I'm just using it on the flat and sometimes on the chisel edge to make a little bit of a straighter line. Now I can come back in later and put some more black. So for now, what I'd like to do is in this black, I'm going to go and I'm going to take a little bit of this warm gray, and I want to mix that up, and I want to make a mid-tone gray, and I think that might be good already. I can hold it up here and see if it's a little bit too black still, too dark, I can add a little more gray, okay? So now I'm going to come in, and next to some of those sections of black, I'm going to start putting in some of this gray. Now you can see it's pretty close in color, so maybe I'll take a little bit of white, throw a little bit of white in there. Change the value a little bit. Now I like the idea of having the gray already mixed. Of course, if you mix the gray, the black and the white, you're going to get gray. All right, but it's nice to have a lot of different mixes. It makes painting for beginners easier. All right, and especially with a value painting like this, it's a good thing for you to learn the gray as it is. You can paint some on, then you can mix gray, black and white and get even a different gray. All right, so let me see. That didn't lighten it too much. I'll go and get more white. There we go. So now you can see the difference, okay? So now what I'm doing is I'm going to come in and I'm going to just find a few spots and get some of this gray in, okay? There we go. Put some gray in here. And we'll start to outline this truck. Gray in here. And I'm just kind of in between the black. I can just rub it a little tiny bit and just to blend it a little, all right? Get some gray over here, and I have some blue there from the sky, and that's all right. There we go. See, so I'm just finding spots to put some gray in, just following the form of the truck, okay? And like I said, not worried about going in or out of the lines. If I go out a little bit, that's fine. Let's put a little gray right down here next to the black. So it's good when you put lights and darks next to each other, okay? That's what really makes your painting. So that's what you want, lights and darks, lights and darks. All right, so I can see the truck is starting to look a little old, like I wanted it to, just because of this gray, and I can go back to that gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down my palette rather than stand that way, and this will help me have a little bit more control. Now I'm just putting my brush into the straight warm gray. I didn't mix it with anything, okay? And you can see that is different than when I mix the black and the white with that gray, all right? So I'm going to come here and there and gonna paint in some of this nice gray. It's a warm gray, okay? So I'm mixing warm and cold colors. All right, so the black would be considered a cool color. All right, and the gray, this one is a little bit warmer. There we go. So I'm just starting to fill in different areas, all right? And back again into the warm gray. And I want to put some right next to this other gray here. And I think I'll go around this window. So I really have no rhyme or reason. I'm just adding the grays and the blacks next to each other, okay? Just so this kind of pops out a little bit and you can see the form of this old truck, which is of course dilapidated in this, you know, area of land, which I'm gonna put some grass in, like I said. So here we go. I'm coming in here again, putting some of this next to the other dark colors, and this has a little bit of gritting. I don't know if that's called gritting. What that is in the front of the truck. I just called it gritting. Could be called something else. All right, and painting in here next to that black again. Okay. So what I'd like to do is now I even want to go to a lighter gray. So I'm just taking some white and mixing it with a little bit of that gray. Same thing, making it a lighter value, all right? Now this lighter value, I'm gonna come up and put in the window, all right? Because that's supposed to be like an old glass now, all right? So I'm gonna put that in the window. And this is a window here too, so there's some light. Here, this is a glass, so I'm making that light and a little bit of glass in here, all right? So I don't want to put any more of that color because that's supposed to be glass. So what I'm going to do is just rinse my brush tiny bit. Not worried if I don't get that paint out because I'm staying within the same colors. Okay, the black and the gray. And let me just find a couple more spots because what I'd like to do is I'd like to come in and put a new color that I'm just using today. And it's a copper color, and that's going to make it look like a little rusty, all right? But first I think I'm going to fill in a little bit more of a mid-tone gray. So I'm just taking my black and adding some white again, okay? And I'm just mixing up a mid-tone gray like I did before because I think I need a little bit more coverage in here, all right? So I'm just keeping this section round because that's around the wheel well. In here is around the wheel well, and I'll come back here again, all right? So I went out, that's okay. That truck back is getting bigger as we're going along. And that's fine. Like I said, this is just the idea. I'll show you how easy it is to paint a little vehicle like this, all right? I see a couple more spots. I think I want to get another stripe of gray in, maybe go around this light a little just so it stands out a little better. And I just dunked in or dipped in the black again because I wanted to outline that a little more. So you can see I'm just paying a little bit of attention to detail there. And maybe around here. So as you stand back and look, okay, I didn't stand back and look, I'm right on top of it, but as you stand back and look, you can see where you need to put a little bit of a dark color like here to separate a little bit of the details, okay? So that you could just do on your own. It doesn't have to be exact, okay? So I feel like I need to maybe separate this part. Now remember there was some of these gritting lines going through here. So you can see I'm just holding it like a pencil now and putting some in. Okay, little bit of detail, that's it, little bit. And I'll go around, I think I need a little bit more back here underneath. All right, so see I'm holding it on the edge of the brush, I'm just dragging it. Same way here, I'm just gonna, now I'm a little bit more on the tip. All right, so once I outline a little bit more, I'm going to go and I'm going to put some of that nice copper color in, make it look a little bit rusty, okay? So I think that's pretty good just for a few minutes. I like the way that's coming out. And like I said, you take your time at home. You don't have to go this fast, but you can see the paint is still blendable because I had a little medium, all right? So what I want to do is I'm just going to rinse this brush out just a little bit, and I have my bucket along the side here. And just wiping it off a tiny bit. And I'm going to go into this copper color. Now, this copper color you can see is like a metallic, and it is a little bit transparent. So you can use it on top of other paint colors, all right? So what I want to do now is I want to come in and make this look like it's got a little bit of rust. Now, you can see I'm mixing a little bit with the other colors, and that's fine. All right, we just want to make it look like a little bit of rust. And you can see it's a more of a transparent color, so I could actually just paint over the other colors. All right, there we go. See, if I put it on top of the other color, you can do that too. So you can use it separate and you can put it on top. And I will stand back from this and make sure that it looks a little bit rusty. We want it to look rusty. And there's some more rust, some more rust. All right, a little bit of rust here and there. So to me, it looks a little bit rusty, okay? And that's the kind of look we're going for. And like I said, as a beginner, this is a good way just to approach giving this little truck a try, all right? So now what I'd like to do is I want to work on some of the grasses, and then I can always go back to the truck and I can perfect it a little bit more if I want. But even with it being like this, it looks kind of nice. It looks nice and artsy, okay? So now for the grasses. I'm going to be using this, this big, this is called a red mop, okay? So there's different color mops and they're different textures. So this mop brush is wonderful for a lot of different applications, for doing clouds, grasses, as a blending, when you want to blend and all, okay? For today, I'm known for using brushes in all different ways. So for today, I'm just going to use it to lift up some grasses. So what I'm going to do is I want some nice dark grasses on the bottom to give more depth. So I'm coming over here and I'm just tapping the tip of this. I'm actually going to get a tiny bit of blue in there because I want it a little bit darker, all right, than what I have under there. So I'll see if that made it a little darker. I mean, I could put a tiny bit of black and we'll see what happens there. I don't want it to turn too much into, you know, a different color. I want it just to stay like a dark green, all right? So there we go. So I tap that in, all right? So if I start on the bottom and I can just come in and just lift, I'm just lifting up the tip of this brush. And you can see how it's putting some grasses. What I'd like to do is I'd like to come around this truck. And the first thing I want to do is put some grasses around this truck. All right, now you can see I'm going right over that bumper. So this is going to anchor this truck into this background. It's going to make it look like this truck fell apart or broke down and their owners decided they don't want to fix it and they just left it there, okay? So here we go, here's some grasses. Now this is some grasses that are not very detailed. I can come in with a script liner and I can put more, all right? So I'm going to go back into my grasses again. And you can see if I take my time, I can really make some taller grasses, all right? And I'm going to come in and put some other color grasses too. So this is going to give some depth to the painting. I've added a nice dark section over here on the bottom, so this looks a little closer. So I'll go back to that. And there we go, putting some nice dark grasses in there. Dark grass, all right? So I can just lift some of this up. Very, very easy way. You can do this also with a fan brush if you wanted to. All right, there's a lot of brushes you can make grasses with. I happen to just love this brush, and I'm not soaking the brush. I'm just using the tip of it. We don't want to soak this brush. Now I made it a little darker there. I want to put some areas of dark right down here, and I want to come up in here and cover up a little more of that bottom wheel well, and here too. And I'll put a little bit more dark, and then I will change the color of the paint, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this brush again, and I'm going to go into some raw sienna, all right? And this is a very nice rich color too. I'm just mixing in the color that was in there, okay? And there we go. We have a rusty looking color, which I probably could have used on the truck as well, okay? So that's why it's good to learn your color mixing. Now, I'm coming in and I'm just putting some of this sienna, and I didn't wash that brush out because I'm using it in a different fashion. So I'm just gonna come in and fill in a little bit with that raw sienna, okay? Now my bottom color is almost dry, that green, it is actually dry, so it's enabling me to go right over it, and some of it is showing through, okay? So I'm just gonna come up here, put a little bit more, I'm gonna make it a little lighter. So again, we want the lights and the darks, the lights and the darks. So I have a little bit of that rusty color in there, all right? I'm just gonna stand back a little bit, And I'm going to put some yellow, some pale green in there now too. So I'm going to dunk in the yellow. Again, I'm still not cleaning out my brush. All right, and I'm coming into that same pile I was before. We'll have a little color harmony because I'm using all the same colors and mixing them together and adding to them. That helps with the color harmony of the painting. So you can see I made that lighter. All right, so I'm going to come in up top here, and I'm just going to pull up some grasses that are a little bit lighter. All right, come in the middle here. So all I'm doing now is just adding some lights, some darks back and forth. So we really want this grass to look like it's overgrown. This truck was sitting here a long time in this grass. All right, and again, coming back in there to the same spot I was, and I picked up a little dark, that's all right. Pulling up some grass right there. Now, to me, I think that this bottom looks a little bit too separate, so I could just come in here and just run my brush across it, and it's still a little wet, so I can just pull up some grasses, all right? What I'd like to do now is dip in the yellow, and I'm not, again, not cleaning the brush, okay? And I'm just tapping. You can see the color, what's coming out in the brush is mixing with this color that I used before. So we have now a paler yellow. I didn't want to put the bright yellow. And I lost a little hair there. Nice new brush. Sometimes that happens. A little bit of the bristle comes out. And I'm just going to come in here and there. And again, I'm going to just put in another variation of the colors we're using. All right. And like I said, that time just a little bit of yellow. And I can keep adding and adding. I want to separate this still a little, even though it's dark in there. I notice it's just staying too much together. Now, the more of these layers that you put, the more detailed your painting's going to look. So I'm still just dragging the brush, dragging. I'm going down into that dark color. I didn't like the way that looked, so you know what? Can change it. And there we go. All right. So there's some grasses. Now, what I can do, now I'm finished with this brush. So first I'm going to tell you I'm putting it in the water. All right, so I'm done with that brush. I have a script liner, all right. Now the script liner I showed on a lot of my shows always has to be wet. I can come in here with the wet brush. I'm gonna roll it around a little bit, and I can put some detailed grasses in. And maybe we want to break the horizon with some of these. So this is just another way that you can come in and you can put some details, okay. So I wanted to at least show you the lesson of how to do this, and then at home, of course, you'll take a little more time, and you'll come in and you'll put your details and you'll fine-tune your truck more. Maybe I want some of these grasses going right over, all right? So I can't see that color too much, but you can see it over here, so I think you're getting the idea. I will come into a little bit of the white, all right? Now, this would be the final details. You may come in and put a little white here and there, and this would be maybe where the light is actually striking the vehicle, all right? Inside the reflection of the window, okay? And that'll really, really dress it up. So I'd like to thank you for tuning in today, and take a look at the DecoArt product page, and write to me, come on Facebook and find me. Thanks again.